those guys and, break it down.
Yeah.
I think they do a great job. I think that,
how about this guy?
Steven,
little overrated?
Oh, man, this guy.
Little overrated?
This guy. He's underrated. This guy's he's strong. Get my shadow. He's killing me.
Oh, man.
This Shark Week.
This guy is underrated right here.
I don't think he's underrated, Lo. I don't think he's underrated.
Oh, he should be on Mount Rushmore.
Man.
I mean, what he brings to the table, he's pretty in the face. He's slim in the waist. Every time I see him, it's like he's simply, if I had one word to bring this guy, legendary. Yeah. Absolutely legendary.
Lo, are you going to light that cigar or are you just going to chew on it?
Shots fired.
It's a Brian Baldinger joining us on 95.7 The Game.
What's up, son?
Lorenzo Neal. Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
This is a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, this guy, he's clearly was a great teammate. Like, you can just tell by the way people come up to him.
No. I mean, and really, that analysis right there, Steiny, is absolutely true.
Wow.
Because it's more than just the running back room. It's the whole team. Like, you couldn't help but, like, when you want to go, like, there's just some guys you want to go to war with. Mm-hmm. You want to go, like, if you're with the Chargers and you're going to play the 49ers, you just want to come out of that tunnel with guys like this. Because then during the week you can have your fun. Exactly. You can sit at the lunch table and just beat on other guys, and see if they can take it or not.
Yeah.
Baldy, so many times we talk about a game and it's about the horses, the thoroughbreds, and the players. But if I asked you from a coaching standpoint, I feel like this. I know Andy has too, and what he did in Philly. But if I told you I feel like it's a tie with Kyle trying to take something or get something that Andy has 2 times, would you call me correct? Like, how do you see this coaching matchup?
Well, I think you have to break through. I think Kyle's got to break through before you can. Because, Andy had that stigma in Philadelphia the whole time. NFC Championship games, got to the doorstep, Super Bowl, came up short. He had that stigma before he went to Kansas City. In fact, I was just talking to his trainer, Rick Burkhalter, and, he was able, like, he's had a second act, unlike any coach that's had a second act. And, they broke through. And now we look at Andy completely different than what we did in Philadelphia.
I remember there were clock management issues.
Always.
Or so-called when he was in Philadelphia. Brian Baldinger joining us on 95.7 The Game, courtesy of the Boxer and Gerson guest line. I heard you on with Bonte and Joe, and you said something. It's funny. The game doesn't change, but each day you think about something a little different, and that's kind of. I've been playing off what you said. I'm not saying the 49ers can't win this game, but you take a step back, and I keep. This is what's running through my head. All right, the 49ers are they're gonna need Brock Purdy, second-year quarterback, to win them a game against maybe the best quarterback of all time and one of the best coaches going right now. I'm not saying it can't be done, but boy, you start looking at it like that, and it's like, this is a big challenge. It
is. But, all this, we're having a good time cutting this up and analyzing this stuff and trying to see how deep we can go in the game. But ultimately, every game has a different flow. It all flows different. Sometimes you got to be down 27, 24-7 to open up the offense up and change the rhythm of the game. And so every game has a completely different feel. We, as an analyst, we prepare for the game. We look at all the stats, recent success, failures, whatever. And then the ball gets kicked off, and then the game just takes off.
Right.
And then how do you adjust during the game?
Right. With that being said, Baldy, when you watch the Niners and you say, hey, there's some things they got to fix. Evidently, the last 2 weeks you've seen the way that teams have been able to run the ball. Why is that? Tell me what you watching tapes, going back, watching all 22. What has been the biggest disappointment as far as in the run game, the run defense, 3rd and 12, they're picking up runs, getting to the outside, the perimeter. Where's the breakdown?
I think it's just the basic fundamentals of the game. I don't think it's personnel. I think it's getting off blocks. It's defeating blocks. It's taking on double teams. They did not do a good job against Detroit. They didn't do a good job of it against Green Bay, especially in the second half. And so I think it's just a fundamental. And then what happens is if Kinlaw or Hargrave or Armstead are just getting driven off the ball or on the ground, Fred and Dre, they start guessing a little bit about where the ball's going. And all of a sudden, like the run fits that should be done blindfolded, they look like they're just guessing right now. And all of a sudden, you get split and you get hit.
Okay.
To that point, Baldy, because I wanted to run this by you. I love analogies, but I'm bad at them, Baldy. But when you got kids doing the wrong thing in school, you start with the parents. You call the parents, and that's a symbol of what's going on or what's not going on at home. And I heard John Lynch after the Detroit game address guys. Well, he basically paraphrasing, giving up on plays.
We saw
this
that.
is the great Niner defense. So is that, I don't want to fire anybody, but I'm looking at Wilkes like that's your unit. They're making, somebody's got to pay. You can't get rid of all the players. How shocking was that, those plays that we talk about where it looked like guys were just lollygagging?
Well, they were. I mean, it's an old school world right there, the lollygag. But, I've called Chase Young out before on his effort. I've called Chase out. And you have to. Just because he's second pick of the draft and, all the accomplishments he's had. I mean, effort is a question sometimes. And there's no excuse for that exit.
Does he have it?
Well, here's the thing, Lo. I always believe the greatest fix to that is peer pressure. You don't want to be that guy in the film room where the spotlight's on you and you're like, wait a second, that guy's still got the ball in his hand as you're walking on the field. There's no place for that.
I agree.
None. The one thing, when the 49ers defense is playing at their best, you could take almost any play from the wide angle and you could see 9 guys sprinting to the ball.
Gang tackle.
It's the only way to play defense. It's the only way to stop, some of these guys from, taking an 8-yard catch and turning it into 20 yards is by getting as many bodies to the ball as possible. I know Fred Warner plays that style, Dre does, but you need everybody to play that way.
Yeah, I'm watching, like you talk about defensive end. You got in a guy that you didn't have to give up a lot, Chase, and you bring him in. And at times you see at high, pad level, guys twisting, double teams, getting him on the ground, lanes. You don't see, and you like to say, okay.
Well, I've asked him, though, this low. This doesn't make any sense to me. So if you watch Nick, he's in that jet stance every single play. The arm is back, it's cocked, he's as low as the curve.
Off the ground, right.
Chase Young is rushing the passer sometimes standing up. And I asked Chase, dude, you can't get nearly the start, standing up as you can get down. Why don't you get down? Because this was an issue in Washington, too. Warren Sapp worked with them on it in training camp this past year. And he said, well, I can't really see what's going on in the backfield. I go, well, you got to learn how to see. This is your job. You're a better pass rusher if you're in a 3-point stance and you're taking off like a jet.
No question.
So if you're standing up and you're giving the guy your chest, he doesn't have enough moves to do that.
Wow.
That's just something.
No. Amen.
Brian Baldinger joining us on 95.7 The Game, courtesy of the Boxer and Gerson guest line. Would you be able to show me on film a game where Nick Bosa doesn't have any sacks, but you say, hey, Stein, he was the best player on defense, and he had no sacks. What does that game look like?
Well, I mean, that happens a lot. I mean, I think Green Bay didn't have any sacks, but he hit the quarterback 5 times. The sack number, I was just talking to TJ Watt about this. The sack numbers is great. We all pay attention to it. Everybody wants them. They get paid on them.
Right.
But it's really about pressure. It's really about moving the quarterback. It's really about affecting the quarterback. If you can collapse the pocket on a regular basis, the way Nick can with his power and his strength, sometimes that's just enough. They just need to feel you.
Right.
If they can feel your punch and you're coming, they're going to move. And they're not going to stay there.
Is there ever any, I don't want to say selfishness, but, I go back, Justin Smith and Alden Smith. Now you can make it, Justin Smith was better, but Alden Smith got more, can there be either acrimony there or the opposite, an understanding where 2 guys are I don't care who gets them as long as we get them?
I think that's at stage in Justin Smith's career. That was a great second act. In that stage, he could care less who got the credit.
Right.
He came here with a physicality that maybe Harbaugh got it out of him. He didn't play like that in Cincinnati before he came. He was a different animal when he came here.
Baldy, let me talk to you about the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs who right now, I called him, I referred to him as Michael Jordan. I heard you on with Bonte and Shasky, and I loved your answer about, you want to pick San Francisco, but I'm paraphrasing, you can't go against Mahomes. How shocked are you at how good he is this early, and did you see it as he came out of college?
Well, I did a lot of his games at Texas Tech. So I was doing Big 12 games for Fox back then. So I was out there. I saw him. I couldn't have ever predicted what he's doing. But we saw the talent. We saw like the elusiveness, the ability to extend plays. We saw a crazy arm. I was telling people this. I was in Baltimore for the AFC Championship game, and I've been around Patrick a lot. I've done a lot of Chief games. The one thing that always, it doesn't amaze me, it's who he is. He has the exact same routine every game. Like he comes out of the tunnel 3 hours before the game. He sits down on the bench. He talks to Rick Burkhalter, the trainer, the equipment guys. Some of the other guys and he just hangs out with the guys, shooting the breeze. And then, roughly 2 hours, 90 minutes before, he just starts having his ball toss. And the touchdown throw that he threw to Kelsey for the opening touchdown of the game is a throw that he makes 10.
L to the T, baby.
That's it, baby. Wow.
Superman.
Wow. Look at it. He's just like, that's just classic LT. He's like, they don't have an entourage,
Right,
just
that's
LT.
him.
Yeah.
That's him.
Anyways, but his routine never changes. So he makes that throw to Kelsey, which is dead perfect, against Kyle Hamilton.
Yes.
It's the same
Back
throw that he
shoulder.
makes with the same relaxation for 10 throws just like that in pregame warm-up.
So
It is. Well, the similarity between Mahomes and Curry, I think, there is a very big similarity
it's
there.
funny, Steiny, because I've used that comparison.
Right.
Because if you go out and you watch Steph warm up, he's got his warm up coach.
Huh?
It never changes.
Right.
It could be, it could be the NBA Finals, but also could be a game in mid-February. It never changes. And I believe the great ones have a purpose when they step on the field, even if it's just pregame warm up.
Oh, no question. When you think about the other side and you talk about the Niners, you're talking about their offense, receivers. You look at Kansas City, pretty good secondary. You see the way they were able to hold, Lamar Jackson, 10 points. What's that matchup look like? What does it look like for Debo and Ayuk against the secondary of Kansas City?
Well, I think that Steve Spagnuolo, first of all, is the best big game defensive coordinator in the game today and has been for a long time. And so he's got a lot of chess pieces. I was talking to him the other day, and he said that he's always looking for an opportunity to a blitz zero, to affect a quarterback. And it could be first down in your own territory. It could be in the red zone. But he's just looking for an opportunity based on formations, based on feeling of the game. And it seems like whenever he does dial one of these up, it's effective. And so it's coming. You don't know where it's coming from. There's a variety. And usually when he comes, he doesn't just bring one. He brings two. So overload pressures, two from one side. He did it to Lamar a lot. Corner cap blitzes. Like, he has as many variety of pressures as anybody today.
Were you surprised they were able to keep Lamar in the pocket and not allow Lamar to hurt him running? Was that kind of amazing to see?
Yeah. Well, the whole thing, I think, honestly, from Steve Bisciotti down, they're still in the days about what happened and how they got away from who they are. They
ran the ball 16 times.
Yeah, but a lot of those were just scrambles. It wasn't even 16. Lamar had 2 runs.
I was watching that game with buddies, and every play was the same. He would drop back, and we would be like, throw it. Get rid. Every play was the same. Waited. He didn't like it. Messed around. Maybe because he had to, but man, they just had him confined.
Yeah, they did, and they really discouraged them from running it. They played their 3 big linebackers and really stacked the box, and they got it. They went outside one-on-one with their corners, and they couldn't beat them.
Well, that's one thing that's interesting. So when the Eagles played the 49ers, and the Eagles got handled by the Niners. Yeah. They talked about what they did to Jalen Hurts, and they used the phrase cage. They caged him. I guess that means everybody stays in their lanes, and you don't.
We're not trying to sack him, Steiny.
Right.
I talked to Nick about it.
So what do you do against Mahomes?
Well, you might do something kind of similar. Although, if you can get to Mahomes, get to Mahomes. Like he's just you want him to feel your punch.
Right.
So I would say I don't know if that's going to be the answer because look, he can still beat you from the pocket. He can beat you from anywhere. But if you're afraid of him breaking the pocket, escaping, and then getting the big plays, I think their speed at linebacker is enough to come and chase.
Right.
So I don't think you're going to get that. But because Mahomes' eyes don't drop. Like, they felt like Jalen Hurts' eyes dropped, and once the eyes dropped, he wasn't going to see down the field. And that's what they saw, and that's why they did that.
That little thing.
Yeah.
That little thing.
Yes.
Wow.
If you look at Purdy, is Purdy going to have to do something with his legs in this game? What do you look at? Is he like against Detroit? I think the
that surprised everybody, right?
It really did. And he did it with deception. He just, boom. He didn't wait. He didn't try to stay in the pocket. He didn't try to buy time. He said he was deceptive, and he said, let me get out of here. Is that the type of game he's got to play this week?
Well, that was he took a page right out of Mahomes' book.
He did.
We've just been watching Pat do that for 7 years. But he's deceptively, he's got good quick feet, and he can elude the rush. I don't know if he has to, Lo. I think that you want every play to be optimized. And if his running or scrambling or escapability optimizes the play, then I think it will present it. But I don't think he has a premeditated thing in his head where I got to run 3 times for 52 yards in the second half.
Sure. Do you think the Niners' offensive line can hold up? You see, because everyone talks about Mahomes, and Mahomes is leading Kansas City. Kansas City, Mahomes carried the team to the Super Bowl. This year, their defense, to me, has carried 17 points. They haven't been scoring. Do you see the Niners offense able to handle what? Just give me your comparing contrast.
Well, they got to execute, Lo. They got to execute. I mean, it sounds cliche, but Kansas City their defense has led them all year long. Even when the offense was really struggling and breaking down, the defense kept them in a lot of games. And then they went on the road. They stopped turning the ball over. Now here they are. But the defense has they have that ability to morph a game plan week in, week out to change, to try and take something away. Like if I was trying to defend San Francisco, I mean, I would really try to rob the middle of the field because that's where they want the ball to go. That's how the offense is designed. Those in cuts where you're seeing Debo just take the ball right on a tee and just never slow down and keep going. That's where they want to attack. And so I'm sure Steve is trying to design some rat coverage or whatever where they're just trying to take that middle away, make them go someplace else.
So I haven't gotten over the Christmas game and what Baltimore defensively did to Brock Purdy in that Niner offense, Baldy. I was still in shock. But then the first half against Green Bay happened where the Niners only had 7, and then they only had 7 against Detroit. I say all that to ask you, can Spags look at those 3 games, and do they have the personnel to kind of mimic that and make Brock Purdy get off his spot?
Well, they play a different defense, but, I mean, Baltimore plays a matchup zone, and they're really good at it. And so you can run all the motions that Kyle wants and all of the, the shifts and everything that they do. They're just sitting on it. Man. Like, they're not reacting to any of it. They're already in place. It's a zone look. All the eyes are on the quarterback. And so that matchup zone is difficult. But that's not really what Kansas City mixes things up a great deal more.
How big was special teams playing this game?
I can't wait, man.
I mean, look, this Harrison Butker, I was talking to the special teams coach last week before the game in Baltimore, Lowe, and Dave Tobe, and I said, what's Butker's reach? Like, he goes, he could definitely go from 70.
Wow.
He's got that kind of legs.
Wow. What's funny is I looked at some numbers the other day because I was thinking about Moody, a rookie, and Butker's.
Well, I saw him against the Chargers. Kicked 2 59-yarders, one to win the game.
Right.
One to get into overtime, one in overtime.
Man.
I mean, he's I mean, I don't know if anybody's Justin Tucker, but he's about as close to Tucker as you can get.
I think it's so fascinating that people now are talking about, well, Moody. What about Moody? We could have talked about Moody on draft night.
Yeah.
Because they were going to have a good year.
Yeah.
Like, the minute they drafted Moody, he was going to have big kicks for a team that's going to the playoffs. So,
well, I mean, the good thing is you're going to have perfect conditions.
Right.
Like, there's no excuses, right? There's not going to be any, you're inside Allegiant. There's one guy, if you're talking about special teams, like Richie James was with the 49ers.
Right.
He's their kickoff returner.
Right.
I asked Dave Tobe about him last week. I go, how's Richie? He goes, he wasn't going overboard on it.
Hey, Bonnie, real quick, what did you make of the practice field gate? Was that anything, just nothing else to report, or was that a big deal for the 49ers?
I don't know. Like, did it affect how they practiced? I mean, did they have to slow things down? Like, the Super Bowl last year was certainly changed by the field conditions and the guys slipping. So, look, I mean, I think there was something there, and I don't know how it affected most of their heavy work had been done in San Francisco before they came here. So I don't know if they had anticipated more walkthroughs than real practice, but I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Baldy, thank you so much for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Brian Baldinger, courtesy of the Boxer and Gerson guest line. By the way, Circa will be throwing a party that we're going to be